A targeted attack on an East St. Louis family, leaving 5 dead and 2 injured.
This is the first time ever hearing something of this magnitude in my lifetime.
We're young, we don't have guidance here, and sometimes we don't know where to go. And oftentimes it's the elders that mislead us and misguide us by holding us to these expectations of nothing more than what they perceive this city to be, and that hurts us.
On a quiet Sunday in East St. Louis, Illinois, a single family was torn apart in a matter of hours, not by chance, not by random violence, but, investigators say, by something far more chilling, a targeted attack from within their own bloodline.
I spent the day speaking with family members, including the suspect's dad, who says he has no sympathy for his daughter.
She chose to do this. No stipulation, like everybody had a choice. I can't show her no sympathy.
By the time police pieced together what had happened, 5 members of the same family were dead, 2 more were fighting for their lives in a hospital across the river, and the 2 people accused of doing it weren't strangers, weren't rival gang members, weren't outsiders at all. They were teenagers. One of them, police would later confirm, was related to the very family she's accused of destroying. This is the story of the May and Thompson family, a tragedy that unfolded across 3 separate locations in one small Illinois city, and the disturbing questions still surrounding why it happened at all. East St. Louis sits just across the Mississippi River from its much larger namesake in Missouri. It's a close-knit community, one where, as neighbors would later describe it, people look out for each other like brothers and sisters. It's not the kind of place used to headlines like the one it woke up to that Sunday morning. Illinois State Police were called out to investigate reports of remains found at multiple locations around the city. As officers moved between the scenes, a horrifying pattern started to emerge. This wasn't 3 unrelated incidents. It was one family, attacked again and again, in different places, within the same short window of time. The violence stretched across 3 sites, all within a few miles of each other. At a home near 39th Street and Summit Avenue, one victim was killed. At the Samuel Gompers housing development, 3 more members of the family lost their lives, and at Jones Park, directly across from the Jackie Joyner Kersey Foundation, 3 people were shot, 1 fatally, 2 others critically wounded and rushed to a hospital in St. Louis. Investigators still aren't entirely sure of the exact timeline. It's possible some of the violence began before that Sunday morning, though officials say the majority of it happened that day. The 5 people who didn't survive were identified as Cherie May, 49, her son Devin May, 24, her mother Patricia May, 74, and Quentin and Shania Thompson, ages 21 and 25. Patricia May wasn't just a grandmother and a matriarch. She'd spent 25 years working at Southern Illinois University Edwardsville, a fixture in the community for a quarter of a century before her retirement. For the family members left behind, the scale of the loss is almost impossible to put into words. One relative, Marcus May, Cherie's brother and Patricia's son, told local reporters that in a single moment, he lost his mother, his sister, and stepchildren all at once. Standing on the porch of his East St. Louis home, holding an old photograph of himself with his mother and sister, he said simply that he'd lost his whole family in one fell swoop. As state police worked the 3 crime scenes, they were also closing in on the people responsible. Troopers eventually located a vehicle connected to the shootings and performed a maneuver to force it to stop inside Frank Holton State Park. 2 suspects were taken into custody there, a boy and a girl, ages 15 and 16. What officers revealed next is what turned this from a tragedy into something far more disturbing. The 2 teenagers were related to each other, and at least one of them was related to the family they're accused of killing. Illinois State Police Director Brendan Kelly didn't mince words at the press conference that followed. He called the shootings a targeted mass shooting, not random, not a case of mistaken identity, but a deliberate attack against one specific family. When a reporter asked directly whether the suspects were related to the victims, Kelly's answer was blunt. One of them is,
After Illinois State Police officers successfully executed a precision immobilization technique maneuver on the vehicle when took into custody one of the the individuals suspected in this horrible crime, and one of the suspects was driving that vehicle. At least 7 members of the targeted family were shot at multiple locations in the East St. Louis area. And as of right now, 5 victims have been confirmed deceased.
Because both suspects are juveniles, authorities have declined to release their names or even confirm their genders publicly. As of the most recent updates, formal charges had not yet been filed, though prosecutors in St. Clair County were working with state police to move the case forward. So what could drive 2 teenagers to allegedly turn on their own family with this kind of violence? Officially, investigators say a motive is still under investigation. Kelly told reporters that the full picture was still coming together, but that with the number of agencies involved, answers would likely become clear over time. But unofficially, a much more detailed and troubling account has started to emerge, and it's important to be upfront that none of this has been confirmed by police. It comes from Marcus May, the victim's relative, speaking to a regional newspaper in the days after the shooting. According to Marcus, the 15-year-old girl believed to be one of the suspects is Cherie May's daughter, meaning, if true, she would have allegedly taken part in killing her own mother, grandmother, uncle, and cousins. Marcus says that about a week before the shooting, the girl's mother called him early one morning, upset, saying her daughter had run away from home and had taken her gun with her. That wasn't the girl's first time running away, according to her uncle. She'd reportedly gotten into trouble before, including once running off with her mother's debit card. Family members say she'd also been struggling at school, to the point where her parents made the decision to pull her out and homeschool her instead, a decision Marcus says she deeply resented. He also says that around the same time she disappeared with the gun, she was part of a group chat with her boyfriend, the alleged second suspect, and a handful of other teenagers, where the group allegedly discussed killing her family members. Marcus admits that when he first heard about the chat, he didn't take it seriously. He didn't believe, he said, that the teens would actually go through with it. Separately, accounts circulating online have added another layer to the alleged motive, suggesting the root of the conflict was the family's refusal to let the boyfriend move in with her at her mother's home after he'd reportedly been kicked out of his own house. Whether that detail lines up precisely with Marcus May's account or represents a simplified version of the same underlying conflict isn't clear. What both versions agree on is this: a teenage relationship the family didn't approve of, and a girl who felt increasingly isolated from the people who were supposed to protect her. It's worth being very clear here. None of this alleged motive, the stolen gun, the group chat, the forbidden relationship, has been confirmed by Illinois State Police. It comes entirely from family members speaking to reporters in the immediate aftermath of an unimaginable loss. Investigators have only confirmed that the attack was targeted, that it involved a family connection, and that a motive is still being determined. What we do know for certain is this: Patricia May, the girl's own grandmother, reportedly tried multiple times to convince her granddaughter to come home in the days before the shooting. If the family's account is accurate, that plea went unanswered. Days later, according to police, that same family was targeted at 3 different locations across the city, in what officials are calling one of the most devastating acts of violence East St. Louis has seen in decades. Community leaders have been careful to draw a distinction between this attack and the kind of random violence that leaves an entire city on edge. City officials emphasize that residents shouldn't view what happened as something to fear when
These alleged acts of horrific violence, taking this number of lives here in this community. It's terrible, it's evil, but it will not keep this city down.
The 5 victims range in age from 21 to 74.
The violence, we just can't normalize this type of violence in this community.
But for the people who knew Cherie, Devin, Patricia, Quentin, and Shania, that distinction offers little comfort. A grandmother who gave 25 years to a local university, a mother, a brother, cousins who should have had decades ahead of them, all gone within the same handful of hours, in the same small city, allegedly at the hands of 2 teenagers who were supposed to be family too. As of now, no charges have been formally filed. The investigation is ongoing, and Illinois State Police say more details, including an official motive, are expected to be released in the coming days and weeks. Until then, a community that prides itself on looking out for one another is left asking the hardest question of all: how something like this could come from inside the family itself. We'll continue following this case as more information becomes available. If this story affected you, consider subscribing so you don't miss the update when it comes.